Hi. It's almost my bedtime because I go to bed early and it's really cold. And so I'm not going to talk about the thing I planned on talking about because my brain isn't working fast tonight. But what I am going to talk about is book covers. So if you are designing your own book cover, or you're hiring a designer for your book cover, or your publisher lets you have any feedback in designing your book cover, this is useful information. There are a lot of people who think you can just pick whatever your heart's desire, what you feel expresses your own artistic whatever for your book, and that's completely wrong. Book covers go through phases and there are trends. If you go to a bookstore, like a brick and mortar bookstore, and you go up and down the aisles, you'll see that the covers of books this year look different from the covers of books last year. And that goes for the font, which is the kind of lettering that the title has, where the author's name is, how big it is, what the picture is, if there is even a picture, what the colors are, what the size of the book is, although there are some industry standards for that. And those things all count. So when you get to the point where it's time to start figuring out a cover for your book, you should probably spend some time looking at other books in the same arena or area of your book subject matter. So if you have a book that's telling about an ancient war and it's very informative book, go look at books like that. Go look at history books. If you're writing a book about a children's book, for instance, and it's very lighthearted, go look at children's book cover. 10 years from now, your book cover will be obsolete. But for right now, because right now you have the limited window of saleability after your book comes out, you want that book cover to hit the mark, whatever that mark is and whatever your audience is. So for instance, let's see, 40 years ago, maybe even longer, a long time ago, romance novels had almost exclusively had covers that featured a girl, young woman. Uh, Usually her hair was windswept. She looked scared. And often there was something in the background, a building or trees or some scene in the background, and it might not be something that was even had much to do with the story at all, but this was just what it was. Also, they were hand painted. They had artists who painted those pictures. They were not photographs of the artwork, and so they were very specific and very identifiable. Now if you look at romance novels, they're, well, some might show a scene, a tableau of a little tea shop table with some cakes, or it might show a woman looking happy doing something, or it might show a little cottage. It might be a painting. It might be a photograph. It could be all kinds of things. But if you look for the specific area that you are writing in, at those kinds of books, you'll see what people are expecting to see. And that's important because when people are choosing what they want to read, they're going to go and look at all the covers. And if, let's say that they already know that they love Western books, they love books about cowboys, and they know what those covers look like. And when they're looking down all those covers, they're probably not going to choose the cover that looks massively different from the others. Even though it might make you stand out, in their brain, it's not going to be what they're looking for. They're looking for a specific thing. They're looking for something that's going to hit the right buttons in their brain to satisfy what they want to read about. And so you want your book to look like the other books. Not exactly. Obviously, you do not want to copy it. Hello there. Hi. are you an animal or do you like animals? I'm looking at somebody as just making a comment, so I'm gonna leave it alone. And WTF? Well, we're talking about book stuff here. So if you are interested in writing a book or you have written a book, that's what we're talking about. Hey there. Oh, hi. How are you? That's good to see you on here. So what I'm talking about is book covers, and Rook knows about this because they have made book covers. They have also had books published, and so they're very, very well versed in this. So what you need to do is look at other people's books, preferably books that are selling, and if you go to a bookstore, they're probably selling. Because bookstores have limited shelf space, and we've talked about shelf space before, and you really just don't have enough space to just put anything willy-nilly up there. If you look at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, they have a rating there that tells those books, how they're rated. And so you can see if there are books that are actually people are buying, because there are lots of books. There are tons of books. There are millions of books. And they aren't necessarily books that people buy. You know, the old thing about, well, when you sell a house, and you tell how much the house costs, that's not how much the house is worth. That's just how much you want for the house. Same with a book. You say how much you want for that book, that isn't how much that book is worth. What that book is worth, or what that house is worth, is what somebody will pay for it. So the fact that somebody puts down $24.95 for this book, if nobody ever bought it, it's not worth $24.95. So you want to look and make sure that the books are selling, that they're selling at a price that people are paying for them, and then look at how those books are designed. So, as I said earlier, the font is important, the typography. So that goes through cycles, and it might be now that they're all sans serif, or they're all italics, or they might be spaced widely apart. The titles might go from edge to edge, which was a trend. I think it's kind of dying out now, but it was a trend there for a few years, where the text would start on one edge of the front of the book and go all the way to the other edge. So it was just spaced out all the way, kind of subway artish looking. So those things matter. And so you want to look at those things. Don't think that you know better than what the market knows, because you are not your purchaser. You are not your reader. Your reader knows what they want. You know the old adage that the customer is always right? Well, the customer isn't always right, but you know, that is true. I'm going to read this just a second. Rook says there is a whole language to book covers that will tell you what genre it is, and it's always changing with trends. It's wild. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So when you go into a store today, what you see today is not the same as what you're going to see in 10 years from now. In fact, as an example, I talked about romance novels 40 years ago. When I first saw a romance novel, it was usually it was painting, terrified looking girl standing, and there might be a building in the distance on a craggy mountaintop, and her hair's blowing in the wind, and maybe there's, birds swooping around above her, and that was what they looked like. And now that is not what they look like. And there are also a lot more different genres than there used to be. There's a lot more like micro little areas where your book might fit in that has a different cover feel than the wider field. So just saying romance novels doesn't cover, okay, remember the cozy knitted romance novels, the little old ladies who knit in the shop and then they go out and fall in love with men who come to visit their mountaintop village, strange and specific, and yet that is a type of book that actually there's a lot of people read, right? Read, it is out there. And they have very specific covers, and their covers almost always feature tea and knitting. Um, yeah, I think that it's really important to look at what is out there that's similar to what you've written about. And so if you don't have the skills to put that artwork together, don't even try, because you're going to mess it up. And if it's messed up, believe me, even if a person can't specifically say, well, they've used the wrong font and the artwork looked a little muddy, they might not know what it is that they're seeing. They might just know it didn't really look professional. It didn't really look good. And they do judge your book by that. They're going to judge whether or not you had enough wherewithal to put together a nice cover, whether your cover is a reflection of maybe shoddy writing or something. So it's really important. So I would suggest that you do your research and then either hire someone if you don't have the skills, or if you have the skills, go ahead and give it a try. Do not copy exactly someone else's cover, but you can catch inspiration, and you should use that as some kind of measure of how the direction you should go, how you should go with your design. So Rook, did I cover it all? Oh, they might have left. Okay, so thank you. And I'm going to check out. I'm going to drink my chamomile tea and check out. So see you later. Bye.